Hey everyone, welcome back. We're diving into something today that's, well, it feels pretty futuristic. We're talking about AI agents.
And it's not just sci-fi anymore. This tech is attracting some serious cash, billions. We're talking billion, even tens of billions of dollars. It's huge. And if it all works out the way some folks are saying, we could be looking at a whole new ballgame for how industries operate, even the global economy. It's that big.
Okay, no pressure then, right? So to get us started, you sent me some really interesting stuff to get up to speed on all this. An article from Every, which gives a great overview of, what's happening in the AI agent world right now, and some fascinating research analyzing OpenAI's new system. What was it called? Oh yeah, O1.
Yeah. Those two together, they paint a really good picture, not just of the potential, but the real nitty-gritty challenges that these developers, they're wrestling with this stuff right now as we speak.
So before we get ahead of ourselves, for anyone hearing this term AI agent for the first time, can you, I don't know, give us a simple explanation? What exactly are we talking about here?
Great question. Really important one, actually. Because it's easy to think, oh, AI agent is just like ChatGPT, but, way smarter, more powerful. But it's not that simple. The way these things work, under the hood, it's totally different.
Okay, so how is it different?
Okay, so imagine you're asking, let's say, ChatGPT a question, something like, does an umbrella block the rain? It's going to search all that data it's trained on and give you an answer, right?
Right, that makes sense.
Now, imagine asking an AI agent a more, I don't know, a more complex question, one with multiple steps. Something like, what's the weather in Boston next week and should I pack an umbrella? The agent, it can't just give you a straight answer based on what it knows. It has to work in this loop. First, it needs to figure out what you're even asking. Then it needs to figure out what information it needs to answer it. In this case, the weather forecast for Boston.
So it has to go out and use tools or get data from somewhere else on its own.
Exactly. It might have to open up a weather app or a website, grab that data, and then decide, okay, based on this, does this person actually need an umbrella? And that right there, that's the big difference. AI agents, they don't just tell you what they know. They can actually do things, make choices, and work on their own to get stuff done.
So it's like this super powered automated to-do list or something. I know every article, they call this an agentic workflow, which, sounds kind of complicated. But is it sort of like following a recipe? There are steps involved, and each step has to be good to get that, that perfect dish in the end.
I like that analogy. It's really good. And just like with recipes, the quality of every single step in the workflow, it really matters.
Hmm.
But it's not just about the quality.
It's about how those steps all work together.
Yeah, exactly. Think about those early personal computers, right? You had companies like Apple, IBM, they had these similar ideas about user interfaces and all that, but it was the way it all worked together, how those pieces functioned as a whole. That's what made the difference, and it's the same with AI agents.
Okay, so it's not just about having one super smart AI. It's more than that. The, every article, they broke AI agents down into 5 main parts. You've got your data inputs, your models, your tools, the interface, and then .ai glue. I got to be honest, not sure I get that last one.
AI glue. It's not the most technical term, I'll grant you, but it gets at this huge challenge, like a massive engineering hurdle. We can have all these amazing models, tons of data, super advanced tools, but getting them to all play nice together seamlessly. That's the AI glue, and it's not easy. That's what that's what they're banging their heads against right now.
And this glue, from what I'm hearing, it's a work in progress. Because this all sounds great in theory, right?
Yeah.
But the tech, it's not quite there yet, is it?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Because, yeah, there's a ton of potential, but the truth is we're still in the early days. In fact, that every article, they said that on average, these AI agents we have right now, 10% success rate. That's it.
10%. That doesn't sound, I don't know, super reliable for something that's supposed to, revolutionize how we work.
Well, you got to remember that 10%, that's an average, right, across a whole bunch of different tasks. And that every article, they give that cool example with Cognition Labs. They were one of the first to really try and, push the limits of what these agents could do.
Right, they were trying to get AI to tackle software engineering.
That's a tough one. No kidding. And they actually got their AI agent to work on real world stuff, like solving issues on GitHub.
Wow, that's impressive.
Right. Now, granted, their agent back then, it only had a 14% success rate.
14%. That's not great.
No, but even that, even a little bit of success, it was a big deal. It showed everyone, hey, this could actually go somewhere. And that was a while back. Things move fast in AI. We're seeing way higher success rates these days, at least for some of the, simpler stuff. So it's definitely getting there.
It's like those old cell phones, right? Back in the day. Big, clunky, didn't always work, but you could see the potential. And now look at us. We've got like mini supercomputers in our pockets.
Totally.
So, okay, this tech, it's still early days, but who are the major players in all of this? Who's actually building these AI agents?
Yeah, it's a bit of a gold rush, right? Everyone wants in. But every article, they broke it down in a way that kind of makes sense. You've got your what they call model-first companies. They're laser-focused on building the brains of these things. And then you've got the ones focused on workflow applications, which is a fancy way of saying, how do we actually use these things to get stuff done?
Okay, I like it. Two main approaches. So who are the big dogs in that model-first category?
Well, the usual suspects are leaving the pack, but each one's kind of got their own flavor, You got OpenAI, of course. They've got deeper pockets than anyone. And rumor has it they're working on this, work-focused AI assistant thing, something that can actually interact with your computer directly, like moving your mouse, opening files, all that.
Whoa, really? That's wild.
Yeah. And then there's Anthropic. They're kind of like, I don't know, OpenAI's biggest rival. Also, tons of cash. They've been a bit more hush-hush about their plans, but everyone's saying they're all in on AI agent research, too. Specifically, trying to build these crazy, powerful AI models, the next generation, beyond even what we're seeing with, GPT-4.
Like a real-life AI arms race.
Totally.
What about the smaller companies? Are any of them doing things differently?
Oh, for sure. Adept, they're one to keep an eye on. They're betting big on this whole new kind of model, one that's not just trained on text and code, but on how people actually use computers. Imagine an AI that learns by, watching you browse the web, clicking on things, typing. That's what they're building.
That is both fascinating and, I have to say, slightly terrifying.
Yeah.
What about Imbue and Magic AI? Are they in the AI agent game too?
They are. They're a little more niche, though, really focused on AI agents for software engineering. And instead of just using what's already out there, they're building their own models from the ground up, really emphasizing things like coding and logic skills.
Yeah, coding does seem like something that AI could get good at. It's
Oh,
all like rules and logic, right?
yeah.
Okay, so we've got these companies. They're all about building the biggest, baddest AI models. But what about those workflow application companies we talked about before? Like you mentioned Harvey. They're doing some cool stuff in the legal world.
Yeah. Harvey's a perfect example of a company that's like, we don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
They're not trying to build the ultimate AI. They're taking what's already out there and they're tailoring it specifically for lawyers, all that tedious stuff lawyers have to do, like legal research, document review. Harvey's trying to automate all of that.
It's like they say, work smarter, not harder. Why build a wheel when you could build a really cool car around it, right?
Right.
What about Cognition Labs? Didn't you say they also work in the software engineering space, but that every article kind of positioned them a little differently?
Good catch. Yeah, so Harvey's laser focused on legal, but Cognition Labs, they're more horizontal. They're targeting anything and everything that involves code. It's like they're building a Swiss Army knife for software development.
I like it. Okay, so Harvey's a specialist. Cognition Labs is more of a generalist. And then there's Lindy. They seem to be going in a totally different direction.
Totally. Lindy's interesting. They're not focused on just one task or one industry. They're building a whole platform of AI agents. They're thinking, how can we make this work for a ton of different jobs and workflows?
So if these companies aren't building their own models from scratch, what's their strategy? What makes them stand out?
That's where that whole AI glue thing comes in. They're masters at taking these incredibly powerful, but sometimes, finicky AI models, and they're like, okay, how do we actually make these things useful? They're the ones figuring out how to wrangle it all together, integrate with existing tools, and make a product that people actually want to use.
So less about the AI itself, more about how you use it.
Exactly. And every article, they quoted Lindy CEO Flo Crivello. He had this really interesting analogy. He compared AI models to computer CPUs.
Okay, I'm listening.
So just like CPUs, right, AI models, they're always getting better, faster, cheaper. So if you try to build your own, top-of-the-line model right now, well, that's risky
Yeah.
and expensive.
Makes sense. Why spend all that time and money when something better and cheaper might come out next week?
Exactly. It's about being smart, figuring out how to use what's out there.
So basically, these companies are saying, let the big guys fight it out over who has the smartest AI. We're going to focus on making that AI useful.
I like the way these guys think. But, I mean, it does make you wonder, right? What if these big companies actually do figure it out? What if they crack the code and build these super intelligent AI models, the kind that's like smarter than any human? If that happens, does all this other stuff even matter? I mean, if we get to a point where we have these super AIs, right, smarter than us in every way, do we even need all the fancy extras, all this work on interfaces and specialized tools? Maybe we can just like point these super AIs at a problem and they'll just, I don't know, figure it out.
That's the big question, right?
Yeah.
And it's something that like everyone in AI is kind of debating.
Yeah.
That idea you just described, that's basically the scaling hypothesis. Like
Mhm.
if we can just keep making these models bigger, more complex, give them more and more data, eventually they'll just like transcend all the limitations we see today. The errors, the biases, all gone.
It's kind of a mind-blowing idea. A little scary, too, if I'm being
For
honest.
sure, I have to admit, I'm still a little, I don't know, skeptical. I mean, we were just talking about those 10% success rates. It's hard to imagine a world where we just let AIs make all the decisions, especially when they mess up that often.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's good to be skeptical. But think about it this way. Remember those old cell phones we were talking about? Technology, it doesn't always improve at the same pace. Sometimes it's like it hits this tipping point and then boom, it just explodes. And a lot of smart people, they think that's what's happening right now with AI.
So it's moving faster than we realize.
Seems like it. There's already buzz about these like next-gen AI models. Apparently GPT-5, the new one, OpenAI is cooking up. It's supposed to be a massive leap. And then you've got companies like Anthropic, they're saying straight up, we're going to build a model that's 10 times more powerful than GPT-4. That's our goal.
10 times. Seriously. That's kind of hard to even imagine.
I know. But on a slightly less mind-blowing note, we should probably talk about that research you mentioned on OpenAI's O1. Because, even with all this talk about powerful new AIs, ones that can actually reason and think logically, it sounds like we're not quite there yet.
Yeah, the O1 research, it definitely threw me for a loop. Because here's this AI, right? It's designed to be super logical, but it still has a lot of the same quirks and limitations as those older models.
Totally. And the researchers, they pointed out a couple of key things that I thought were really interesting. First, O1, its performance is still linked to how statistically likely the output is. So basically, it's better at generating stuff that's like the obvious answer, the stuff that's statistically more likely to occur.
So even though it's supposed to be more logical, it's still kind of stuck on just pattern matching, trying to find the most likely answer instead of actually thinking it through.
Kind of, yeah. And the second thing they found was about something called task frequency, which basically means O1 is better at stuff it's seen a lot before, even if those tasks are like logically very similar to other less common ones.
So it's like they say, practice makes perfect, even for AI. The more experience it has with a certain kind of problem, the better it'll be at solving it.
Exactly. And honestly, I think that just goes to show like how much we still don't know, even with all the advancements in like reasoning and logic, there's still this element of pattern recognition that seems to be, baked in.
So where does that leave us? It feels like we're standing at the edge of something huge, like AI agents. This could be massive, world-changing even. But the technology, it's still got a ways to go, right?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. Lots of potential, but also a lot of unknowns. AI agents could change, well, pretty much everything. Industries, jobs, the whole economy.
Not to mention all the big questions it raises about, like,
Mhm.
what happens to humans when AIs get this good? What does work even look like? Is any of this ethical? It's a lot.
It really is. And those are questions we could probably spend a whole other deep dive talking about. But, for everyone listening, I want to leave you with this. Imagine those AI agents we've been discussing, but instead of a 10% success rate, imagine it's more like 90%. And imagine they're not just cheaper than human labor, but they're also more reliable. What then?
Okay, yeah, no, that is something to think about.
Yeah,
It's exciting, sure, but also a little intimidating, if I'm being honest.
totally. And the crazy part is that future, it's not as far off as we might think. The question is, are we ready for it?
That's all the time we have for today. But wow, you've given us a lot to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of AI agents. And until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and stay curious.